I have a question here from one of my members on Ford, and thank you very much for the super chat. Explain to me why Ford goes sideways forever. It's a really easy one to answer that. Very, very easy. Is Ford a great investment? No, it's rubbish, and has always been rubbish. Why does anyone own it? Well, no one really buys it. Let me explain why. Is it a great car? It's okay. It's a cheap car. It works. I've owned loads of Fords. I've had Fiestas, Sierras, Escorts, Ford Transit vans, even the Iveco souped up van. I've had it all. All right. I love Fords. Great workhorse, used it all my life, loads and loads of Fords. My favourite car is a BMW Z3, a 3-litre Sport. That's far better built and much better, but that's a sports car. That was my toy. But my workhorses have always been Fords, and they're okay. They're cheap, they do the job, very plastic, but they do the job, and they've got a lot of history, and they kind of work, and there's garages everywhere, and you can get them fixed. Okay. It's a huge business. There's the clue. It's a huge business. Lots of people around the world work for Ford, and many of them get paid stock options. So there's always somebody owning the stock. They get given the stock as part of their wages. Many earn their part of their wages, their compensation is being given stock. I don't know anybody who buys Ford. Why would you buy Ford? It doesn't go anywhere. Hang on a minute. But what about the dividend? Well, there's a dividend here, of course. The dividend is why people own it, for a passive income. However, there's no growth in it at all. There's no sense in owning this stock. But so many people are connected with Ford, and Ford is a darling of the United States government. The government always support it. They fund it. They bail it out. They give it money. It doesn't matter how it performs. It's never going to go nowhere. It's part of American culture, like Rolls-Royce for the English, the British, the same thing. Rolls-Royce never go anywhere. It's built into the culture of Britain. Ford is built into the culture of the United States. There's no sense into it. This is not a full review. If I did a full review on it, in fact, I have done a full review, you'll go and see exactly what I'm talking about. You can compare the S&P, you can compare the payout history of the dividends, and you'll see it's a completely useless stock. I don't see any sense in owning it. The main reason why it goes sideways is, first of all, a lot of people get given the stock as a compensation, so it's not being bought, it's just being donated, if you like, as part of income. And those people just hold it, they never sell it. The stock just goes sideways forever. There's no growth in the company. What about if I share with you the balance sheet? Right? Well, I mean, this is half the problem. If I show you the balance sheet now, it's frightening, right? It doesn't seem to matter. The government just keep bailing it out. It loses money every time it sells an EV right now. 276 billion in assets, but 233 billion in liabilities. How much of that is debt? What do you reckon? 100 billion in debt makes up 43% of their liabilities is in debt. Right? But you'll probably go, yeah, but they're a massive company. They can pay their debts off tomorrow. They own 100 billion in debt, and they have in cash 34 billion in cash. If you look at Apple, Amazon, other companies like that have debt, they have more cash than debt. They can pay off their debt tomorrow if they want to. They certainly can. They choose not to because they make more money on the cash, and most businesses hold a certain amount of debt. There are benefits to owning debt, okay? But Ford cannot pay off their debts. Their margins are ridiculously low. There's no margins in Ford at all. It's just completely virtually zero. There's no moat here. If we look at the profitability, 48%. It's not rubbish, but when you think it's been around for the longest time and it's 48%, it's not very, very good, is it? It's been around for the longest time. Solvency score on a legacy car company with the history and everything else, 38%. It's basically bankrupt if it wasn't for the government bailing it out, essentially. There is no growth here. Now, Wall Street give it a 29% upswing from here. 29%. You can make yourself 13% without any risk at all just by owning the S&P. I don't see a 29% upside from Ford at all. Some people say 112%. It's always got this potential growth, but it never lives up to it. If we look at the history, there's the history. You can be the most pro-ish, bullish, I love Ford all day long. I love the cars and the rest of it. But look at that. That's going back all the way to 2000. The 24 years of history, you've lost 30%. And if you say, yeah, but I've earned a dividend, you absolutely haven't. You've made no money at all, because with the dividends that you've earned, which haven't always been dividend king, they're not always paid out, and they're not always increasing. I've done a review on it, you can go and check. With the dividends, you've still lost money because the growth was so awful. But if you got paid in stock options because you work for Ford or in some way, then it's okay for you because you got in free money. It's like people who work at banks. If you work at the bank, you get paid in options, and you end up with all this money and all this stock. Well, it was free. It wasn't free. It was your wages. But people look at it like that. The only person who makes any money out of Ford is the CEO. He pays himself a fortune. I think it's disgusting, really. I would have paid myself a fortune if the company was actually making me any money, but or making the shareholders money. He doesn't see that way. He thinks it's great. As long as I'm making money, bugger everybody else. So if you want the full review on Ford, I will give it to you now, and you can go and I'll make this part of the video. If you want to know how to find videos on my channel, so you go Martyn Lucas Investor, Lucas Investor, and if I type in Ford, there you go. You will get an analysis on it. 7 months ago, that was a long time ago. But scroll down here. Well, it was actually quite a while ago. But the analysis of Ford hasn't changed. There's no different analysis. The stock has been doing the same thing now for 20 odd years. There is my analysis. You can go and check it. And here I will show you the dividend correlation, and I will show you the history of it, how it compares to the S&P, full breakdown of its balance sheet, all the rest of it. And you can go and see there. If you want that, you can. I strongly recommend you do. So anyway, to answer your question in one sentence, can you explain why Ford goes sideways forever? Mainly is because it's a terrible company, doesn't make any money, only rewards the CEO and the directors. The shareholders get nothing. They get paid, but it's such a big company. There's so many people getting stock options. The stock just keeps going sideways. They get paid in options. The government support it, just like Rolls-Royce in England. It's a part of American culture. It's a load of rubbish. The car's okay, but every time it sells an EV, it loses about 100 grand. It just doesn't make any money. If it wasn't for the government supporting it, it would have gone bankrupt years ago. So there you go. That's it. That's why it goes sideways. Click above my head for all the links down below in the description, or if you want to go and check out the full analysis, I'll put it over here. And down here, I'll put the playlist. That's it from me. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.